Prospective Commanding Officer School was 3 months of training at Naval Reactors and then 3 months of training at the Submarine Forces training facility, once again in Groton, Connecticut. So 6 months following that time, and then I reported aboard the Parche as the relieving commanding officer in the summer of 1984. Parche was an interesting platform because, in fact, it did special operations type missions that were extremely valuable for the information that they brought back in support of our intelligence gathering efforts, in understanding what our nation could learn about our principal opponent at that time, the Soviet Union. I was fortunate because, in fact, when I had first reported into Prospective Commanding Officer School at Naval Reactors, I had not been assigned to the Parche. I'd actually been assigned to be the commanding officer, relieving commanding officer of the Baton Rouge. Okay. But my orders got changed within the first 5 days of the time I was at Naval Reactors, and it turned out that I was given the opportunity to become the commanding officer of the Parche. And one of those fortuitous quirks of fate where I was in the right place at the right time, and somebody thought that I would provide the right kind of leadership as a commanding officer, and I was fortunate to have the privilege of being the commanding officer of these ships, this ship, and it was because it's always been the envy of a lot of people to have the privilege of being a commanding officer of a ship that does a very important and unique special mission like Parche did. So the other unique thing about that was that the practice for the commanding officer who was relieving was to go on a deployment with the incumbent commanding officer to see how the ship did its operations before you were eligible to relieve as commanding officer. So in the summer of 1984, I embarked on the ship, and for about 4 or 5 months served as the prospecting commanding officer on board the ship and not in command. And serving and watching and learning the crew and learning the mission and learning the ship systems. But of course it's frustrating for the, it's always frustrating for the relieving commanding officer, because you know you want to get in there and take over and have the opportunity to really be in charge. But you also know that it's frustrating for the incumbent commanding officer because he now has his successor on board, and so there's a lot of things being watched and a lot of things being evaluated. So, but fortunately that process went well, and in December of '84 I actually took over as commanding officer and had the opportunity throughout the period of time of '85 and '86 to make 2 deployments on board Parche and to be responsible for bringing back a significant amount of information that was of value to the country, such that in the first deployment we received the Navy Unit Commendation, and the second deployment we received a Presidential Unit Citation. It was interesting because in one of the, what we typically would do when we came back from deployment was we would, upon departing from the sensitive areas of operation where we were working, we would send a message to summarize the accomplishments that we had achieved during the period of time of our mission. And that second mission was about 120 days in length, and in fact I had been charged by the Chief of Naval Operations at that time to bring home the bacon, and so in my message I said to the Chief of Naval Operations, we didn't just bring home the bacon, we brought home the whole pig. Oh. And so in reaction to that particular message, the CNO actually gave me a pig, a bronze pig that he put inside of a plastic container on a piece of wood, and in fact that was what he presented to me when he came down and greeted us as we returned from deployment. So that was kind of a fascinating experience. Yeah. That was Admiral Trost. Presented by the Chief of Naval Operations to the commanding officer and men of USS Parche SSN 683 in recognition of their outstanding ability to bring home the bacon. Yeah, so that was a remarkable experience. The Parche was a particularly significant platform because we had a great collection of people. But the most important thing, I mean, we were responsible to take the ship out and to and to do the operational work of the collections that we were doing. But it was really a team effort made up of civilian technicians who were experts in the equipment that we operated, and they worked for companies, Westinghouse, Lockheed, a lot of different companies that we took advantage of their expertise. But we also had military folks who supported us ashore, and then we had government civilians who helped to maintain the ship at the Mare Isle Naval Shipyard, because we were home ported at Mare Isle Naval Shipyard. And because we needed the special skills that were represented by shipyard workers, they were very proud of their submarine, and so they always talked about the fact that they gave it to the crew on loan, and they wanted to make sure that we didn't bring it back dented or bumped or bruised, and because they then had to repair it and get it ready for the next mission. So it was a very strong team effort, and it was something that I was quite proud to be a part of, and really appreciated the opportunity to do those kinds of missions.